Okay, so on to what just happened, because this is a big episode for people who are following different model releases, or if you're not following and you might have heard this in the ether. The big sort of model that we've been waiting for all year has been ChatGPT-5. Lots of teasers, lots of hype and build up. So, Bridget, what just happened?
We finally got ChatGPT 5 last Thursday, I think it was. We sort of knew it was coming. I mean, there was a lot of sort of hints that it was coming, and then there was this announcement that they were going to have a press conference at 1 o'clock, and we got the press conference at 1 o'clock, and we got GPT 5, which is OpenAI's most advanced model yet, and it does a few things that are new. The first thing it does is auto routes between the fast thinking models and the deep thinking models. So there's GPT-5, GPT thinking, and then GPT Pro, which is research grade intelligence. So those are the three different models. And what it does is you put in a query and it decides which model it needs to answer it. And sometimes when it's figuring out that answer, we'll switch back and forth between those models to be able to give your query the right amount of attention. That's actually something that I've been looking for wanting for a very long time. When my choices used to be, there were 8 different models, and I would sometimes forget that I was in the quick model because the last thing I asked only needed the quick model, but then I asked it something else and I really needed a reasoning model, or vice versa. I was always like, oh, I wish it would just do that for me. And so now it does do that for me. And I personally like that. The thing that happened though was they rolled out GPT-5 for everybody, even free users got GPT-5, and the other models disappeared. So you no longer had access to 4.0 or O3 or whatever model you were using and liked before. And that caused a lot of backlash, and I'll turn to that in a second. But a little bit more than just some of the details about GPT-5. On the benchmarks and the legal benchmarks, the VALS study, GPT-5 now is the top model, coming in just above Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is just above XAI's latest model. And it's got PhD level smarts. If you've read any of the press around it, it's especially good at medicine and science and math. I don't code, but they say it's a lot better at coding, and the reasoning is better, they claim, than O3. It has a very large context window, and it also is a little less sycophantic than 4.0. At least that's the claim, and I think I've witnessed that myself. It's less likely to say, "Oh, what a brilliant question! You're so smart. Let's go dig into that together." Instead, it just kind of gets to
Like me, who tells you that after everything you say? But I genuinely believe that. I
yes.
think you're brilliant.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, I'll ask you when I ask.
I'm an older model, though.
And that actually, that actually works, I think, for me quite well. But as it turns out, not everybody loved this, and there was quite a backlash over the weekend. And I felt like Sam Altman and all of OpenAI were in crisis communication mode from basically Friday until, I don't know, maybe they still are. I'm not totally following. A lot of people really resented losing access to those models that they had really gotten used to, and some of that was sounded emotional. Like they ended up really liking the conversations they had with one of those previous models. Some of it is I know people who built specific GPTs on those previous models, and when there's a new model, those get they don't always work, right? And so it might have helped to have a little notice that we're transitioning these models, and so what you built might not work, and let's figure out a solution for that. And there was enough backlash that I think OpenAI actually reverted and now allows paid users to have access to 4.0. So I think the question is is there anything that this means differently for lawyers? And I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. I think the answer is no, although it is, it's better than any previous model on legal work and better reasoning work. And I as always, have, asked this model and the latest Gemini model and Claude some of the same legal questions just in the last week. And I do see significant difference in GPT-5. I really do. I think it's really doing more um, more robust legal work. But it's not good enough to, it's not good enough to not check it. Like you could have like the best, 1L summer associate or best new associate in the world. You still wouldn't file, something they wrote as a memo directly with a court without checking it. I mean, there's just a reason why lawyers have the training they have and are licensed to practice, and it's to be able to like do some QC on that work. So I think you can think of it as a great first start, but I still think lawyers need all the same safeguards that they needed with the previous models. But I don't know what have been your experiences, and what advice do you have for lawyers in GPT-5?
For most lawyers, I would say don't worry about trying to keep pace with catching up with the newest model. All of the things that you and I advocate and teach remain the same. Experiment, share with your colleagues and others what you're learning, where the limitations are, where the benefits could be. And as you said, all of the ethical obligations to check the outputs over and over again, to not rely on anything that comes out of it, to treat it and supervise it as you would an inexperienced lawyer remain. As you noted, the VALS benchmark puts it at the top of the leaderboard of all the models out there, and it continues to improve. And I know that we have those slides that we use in presentations of the VALS benchmarking of human lawyers from back in March, putting human lawyers on a variety of benchmarking tests at around 70% accuracy. Just a quick look at those VALS benchmarking accuracy puts it at 84.6% on this benchmarking leaderboard here. I would want to dig into that data and see exactly what the tasks are and how that compares with those earlier lawyer benchmarking. But as you and I have said at different points, and to the point of your AI aha, as a species, we are not going to improve exponentially during our lifetimes, but these models will continue to get better and better and more reliable. So maybe to give myself a little grace with my AI, the challenge will be, where will we spend our time with our naked human brains and figure out where we still want to rely upon them as these models continue to get better and better. And I know that for firms that do have access to legal domain specific tools, I've seen posts across social media that certain tools have already, that are built on top of these GPT models from OpenAI, have already been upgraded to the GPT-5 models. And I did think it was interesting that in its press release on its website announcing GPT-5, OpenAI specifically called out legal as use cases that would become stronger as a result of this model upgrade. And they have relationships with different tools in our domain. So it's certainly something that they're aware of and looking to capitalize on.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we'll follow this, I'm sure, and I bet we'll have more conversations about GPT-5 in many of our future episodes.